Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on the evolution of the public sector permit schemes. It's great to see so many people here. We're just going to hold on just for a minute or so, just for any late comers. But thank you very much for joining us. What I would say as a starting point is if you do have any questions, there is a question box. If you could use that, the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen rather than the chat box, that would be much appreciated. And as I say, we'll just give people a couple, one more minute. Okay, great. We'll get going. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host today. My name is Alex Cleland. I've been involved in the parking industry since around 2006. I've got experience across the NHS, the rail industry, and with both private and the public sectors. I've got a colleague with me today who I'll let him introduce himself.
Oh, hello. My name's Jack Fear. I'm a solution consultant at Unity 5. And I guess this is sort of like my role, show people around the system and answer questions for them.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jack. And we're really pleased today to be joined by one of our colleagues, Josh Macdonald, who is the business manager at Cornwall Council. And Josh is going to talk a little bit about his experience of using our permit system, how it's benefited him as the business manager, but also how it's impacted the residents and the advantages of the system. So really, I suppose the best place for us to start is just give you a quick overview of what we're going to go through. We've basically put this webinar into sort of three sections for you. I'm going to give a bit of an overview about Unity 5 and the Zatpermit system, and then we're going to show you the system, how it works, what the key features are, and then Josh will tell you a little bit about his experience of actually using the permit system live, and then we've got some time at the end for a question and answer session. As I say, please do use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen and to put your questions in, and you can put them in at any time, and we'll look at them towards the end of the session. So if I talk a little bit just quickly about ourselves as a business, we're a true SaaS business hosted in the cloud with one live system. You're always on the latest and most up-to-date software that we have available. We've been going for nearly 15 years, based out of Exeter, and we have 20 developers in our team exclusively working on parking-related products, all based in the UK. We're not going to be able to cover everything that Zatpermit has in the time, mainly due to sort of time constraints, but also because I noticed in some of the people attending today, we've got people from other software companies who have come to have a look, and so we don't want to share everything with our competitors straight away. But if you do want to, if we don't talk about something and you want to know some more, please do reach out and contact us, and we'll be happy to go into detail with you. So, current system, as things are, we understand that local authorities are increasingly asked to do more with less. That is a real challenge, and the Zatpermit system is designed with that principle in mind. You can do multiple permit types within the system. We do all your standard VRM-based permits, from resident parking zones to business permits to just standard access permits for buildings. But we also do non-VRM based permits. We've got customers that are using it for environmental enforcement. We've got customers who are using it for managing bike shelters, for boat moorings, and we're also in advanced discussions with the London Borough about how they could use the system for highways management. So the permit system we have, don't think it's just a parking permit system. It's not. It can manage multiple different permit types, and even if it's something that we haven't mentioned, by all means, always come and talk to us, because we're happy to discuss it with you and see, can we assist you with a new permit type. It also supports suspensions, dispensation, street licensing, all of the things that a local authority would have to manage. It's designed to keep the cost down. So rather than buying additional units or different modules, it's all contained within one permit system to make it functional and cost effective for you. we can manage complex business rules very simply. It's actually our company motto is making the complex simple. And with that in mind, we can do all sorts of different variations on our permits. So we have customers on emissions-based charging. We have permit qualification questionnaires. We can work out eligibility based on distance, based on available public transport. There's all sorts of different ways that you can manage your permits. And we've got these complex business rules created that allow you to do it. And as I say, if you have an idea, talk to us and we can show you how we can make that work for you. We also deliver exemption management. We are very soon to go live in Oxfordshire on lane filtering and delivering clean air zones. We also manage school streets. And we're also working with some of our customers where rat runs have become created due to parking management work, and how we can try and manage that area, make it safer for the residents, and try and deal with some of the antisocial behaviour that can happen around parking and driving. And we continue to look to enhance our customer experience. So we've got multiple integrations. We've got integrations with LLPG and with highways. We're always on the lookout to see what are there other services we can utilise to make sure that the permit system is covering as many users for the local authority and giving you as much data as possible. In terms of the customer journey, the system is designed to be really customer friendly. It's designed to have a self-service as its main functionality. This for both the end user and for you as the customer. As I say, the customer's at the heart of everything that we do. We want to make sure that it's simple, easy to use, and we work on the philosophy that a happy customer means that there's less work for you as a local authority, and there's less complaints going to your chief exec or to your members, which can only be a good thing for everyone. With that in mind, we have two-factor authentication and single sign-on. It all depends on how you want your users to access the system. It's your system, so you make that decision. In terms of accessibility, we know that not everyone is digitally skilled. I'm constantly reminded by my teenage daughters of this. But with that in mind, we've got account sharing functionality, so you can allow a trusted family member or a carer or someone you've given access to your account to manage your account for you. That will make it nice and easy for residents when they're trying to apply for permit to do things quickly, to do things simply, and to be able to access the system. We also have Apple and Google Pay. These allow quick, easy payments, reduces your exposure to fraud and risks, and also allows for almost instantaneous refunds as well, which again can often be a really troublesome activity for local authorities. The system is designed, it's got a great communication functionality within it. You can do bulk communications as well as individual messaging. This two-way communication, it shows all the data is visible to both the customer and you as an end user. It allows you to make simple decisions. It allows the customer to understand what's going on and clearly understand the process, because there's nothing more frustrating from a customer point of view of applying for something and then not having information and then having to call in and find out what's going on. That then just creates work in the back office. That's not how we like our systems to work. So everything is visible to the customer so that they can go in, and that allows them access to their data, so they can make changes to their permits. They can manage their permits really simply, and they are able to basically manage the system for themselves, so they don't have to speak with a back office user in anywhere near as often. In terms of our user face, it's built for customers with them in mind. It's simple, clean, clear, highly configurable. You can show your customers what you want them to see. We don't turn around and say, this is what they will see. You decide yourself so that you can make sure your permit system works for how you need it to run. It's designed, as again, to be a simple transactions. It's compliant with WCAG 2.2, and it's fully optimized for mobile phones for those who've got additional needs. And what we see is that by having a self-service permit system, it considerably reduces the amount of interactions that you as a local authority are likely to have with your customers, and it speeds up the process and it just keeps them happy. So a self-service system for yourselves. It's got to be a benefit to a local authority. What this means for you is, in terms of the configuration, you can decide how you want the system set up. As I said before, it will work in the way you need it to work for you. We've got an amazing support team. They are available to you in core hours, but we do have out-of-hours support available as well. And we manage 61% of all of our cases are resolved within 5 hours. So you can rest assured that there is always someone there to help you. But the system is designed for you to manage it, and we'll show you how to do that. And what that means for you is that all the changes you can make yourself in real time. Gone are the time of having to put a 6-week order in to get a simple permit change or something happen. You can do everything yourself. And more importantly, there's no costs for upgrades. We believe that once you use the system, that's the system. If it needs to change because of a legislative change, we make that change. We don't charge you for it. As far as we're concerned, you're our customer. You're not a cash cow to be milked. You shouldn't have to continually pay just because something has changed or something needs improving. If the system needs improving, we make those changes. We share them to you through a communication plan. We let you know what's going on, and we continually upgrade the system, working on an agile sprint methodology. Every 2 weeks, we make an upgrade to our system. And again, we just don't charge you for that at all. You can set up all of your permits for authorization. You can have them, you can make any changes. If you need a new zone, a new price, you have full control of that yourself. The aim of the system is that to make everything simple for you, to be able to make the changes that you need to make, and to be able to manage the system quickly, efficiently, and not have to come back to us as a software provider to keep asking for support. Everything in Zatpermit is recordable, it's exportable, it's reportable, sorry, and exportable. You can schedule reports, you can create bespoke reports, you can analyze data, you can send records, you can search for records via multiple different criteria types, by VRM, by street, by person's name. So you can get everything within the system you've got access to. You can also send it to business intelligence systems, and this is going to allow you to make data-informed decisions, to understand what's going on, and be in a situation where you've got complete control of everything that's going on, and you can manage it to how you need to manage it. And ultimately, I've talked to you for 10 minutes about the benefits of the system. I think the best thing we can do is show you how the system works.
Thank you very much, Alex. That takes us really nicely onto my part now. So if I just swap us over onto our single sign-on here, brilliant. So this would be what our or your customers would see when logging in and applying for a permit. Again, this can be, like Alex said, this can be set up as a single sign-on, or is it sort of 2FA just to ensure that the right people are applying for the correct permits. As Alex said as well, we offer sort of a breadth of products from sort of business permits and annual permits to, again, coming right down into those sort of dispensation rules. And again, this can be done super easily just by picking out a postcode and dropping a pin into a map. As you can see, that drops a pin right on my house there. And again, from here, I can select and proceed, choose my number of bays, add in any justification for the dispensation, set up optional expire reminders to ensure that I'm obviously made aware of once the permit or in this case the dispensation expires, and then once I'm happy, I can then proceed and go through the necessary steps. For this demo and for this webinar, we'll go through an annual permit here on one of our demo sites for Arc City. What we have the ability to do is, if I select a permit here, is to set up questionnaires to ensure obviously that the correct people are applying for the correct permits. So again, we can look at things like proof of address. And again, what they can do is they can attach those straight into their account, or as I show you here, once they've applied and set their scheduled reminders, once they go through to next, if they need to for this permit, they can then add in any additional information they need to. For here, for example, I need to add in my proof that I have a disabled badge. And again, I can do this by selecting and dragging and dropping a file in, or if I already have the file added to my account, in this case I do, I can very easily and simply just select from the drop down here. I'm having some trouble clicking. But But again, I can select from the drop down, select any files I need to, and then go next. And that will take us straight through to the back office, which I can now show you through now. So here is the back office. Here is where all of the pending applications would come through. And again, this can be set up however you'd like. For example, if you have a team that are dedicated to just looking into applications and approving them, this can all be set up here, and it can be adapted to look at the newest ones that have come in. Or again, we can change the tables to show the oldest ones come in to ensure that none of these old permit applications are being missed out. Like Alex said, the entire system is configurable and customizable. And for the permit types, I just sort of show you the breadth of options when creating the permit. We have the option to set up standard permits, look at emission-based permits, and again, that will pull the information directly from the vehicles that have been set up in the account, so you don't have to worry about manually looking up for different vehicles and having a look at their emissions or which band they're in. We can also set up our dispensation tariffs, and again, we can have a look at setting up visitor permits. So, for example, if you have an apartment building, maybe, when they apply for their permits, they might get 20 extra one-day visitor permits in case they have any visitors. And like Alex said, with the account sharing, it gives the customers the ability to put in their own visitor permits for maybe friends that are coming down. For example, my dad, like Alex said, is a technophobe and he is terrified of using his phone. So again, if I was worried about him coming down to stay with me, I could go through and select a visitor permit for him. And then without him having to, he could then park there without risk of having a ticket, etc. We can look at things like setting tariffs for specific dates and times. One of our clients uses this on a university to set timings for their lecturers. So obviously they need to park there during term times, but again, in the summer they don't want anyone parking there. They would use that as a normal car park. So again, they can set specific dates and times for them to start and end, and even set active days and times. So for that example, if the university said they only wanted the lecturers or the students to be able to park there during 9 to 5, they could then set the timings here, and that would then stop anyone from parking there outside. And if they do park, then they would obviously receive the necessary or ticket. We can then look at things like retrospective purchasing. So the example I used before with the university, if they've then missed that cutoff, you can say, well, actually, maybe we want to allow them to purchase that permit retroactively, but maybe they might have to pay an extra fee. And here we can set the max delay and how long we want to sort of give them to apply. Then we come down to the availability, and as Alex mentioned, we can set the availability around our advanced business rules. So we can, I'll sort of show you that in a little bit more detail later on. But essentially, what we can do is we can say, they must live in a certain area or address, or we can sort of build that out to say, for that example of the university, their email address must end in the university's email address to be able to apply for that permit. And if it doesn't, it just won't appear for them. It's not that it'll come up and then they go through the entire application process and they're just declined. If the visibility business rules are set up correctly and they go to apply without one of those email addresses, it simply won't appear and they won't be able to apply. We can then look at things like renewals. So again, it's completely up to you how this is configured, but we can set up renewals and then those auto renewals. And again, we can look at setting up things where maybe you're happy once the permit's been approved for them to auto renewal for the next 2, maybe 3 years, assuming that they have the same documentation. And again, maybe on the 3rd year, you say, actually, no, we will let them apply or reapply 3 times. And on the 4th time, we want to see new documentation just to prove they're still who they say they are and they still live where they say that they do. Just coming down here, you can obviously see there are some restrictions we can build in to the tariffs and the permits themselves. So we can set things like account limits to stop people purchasing sort of 10, 15 permits when they only need sort of 1. We can look at setting things like maximum vehicle limits on the permit. So how many vehicles per permit are they allowed to have on? And also things like vehicle changes. I'm sure you guys get loads of requests coming through for people to change their vehicles or to change their VRM, and they've sold their car and they bought a new one. So what we can do here is we can set up that automatically to say that, yes, they can have sort of unlimited up to as many as they would want. And again, it gives you the option to charge a small admin fee for actioning that for them. Or again, you can just leave it as a free goodness of your heart. Then we come on to our approvals. So we can set automatic approvals. As you can see here, this one's been set up so that the 90% will be automatically approved, and anything that falls under that 90% will then have to be manually reviewed. We're currently looking at an integration so that the documents can be scored automatically, and then any documents that are applied for those questionnaires that I showed you in the customer journey can then be scored independently, and then they'll come through, and that'll add into this application auto approval percentage. Also, we can look at things like cancellations. So do we want to have them be able to set up automatic cancellations? Do we want to allow the clients or the customers to cancel their own permits? Or do you want them to have to get in touch with you and say, this is why I'd like to cancel my permit? Here is where you'd add it to any locations or any new sites. And again, it's as simple as clicking on the three dots and just moving it across and adding. Again, with the removals, just coming into this permit type here, we can obviously remove it from sites. So there's no big delay if you've had a site that needs to be turned off or set as inactive and you need to remove that permit type from that site. Again, you can action that yourselves just by coming into the site and removing it from the assigned locations. Here we have the visibility rules for our permit types. So here we can see that the application portal visibility is controlled by the business rules. So for example, if I wanted to have a rules-based visibility, I could then set one of the rules that I've set up, for example, one per household. So this would obviously stop two people from the same household purchasing this permit type. What we can do is we can build out these visibility rules to add in more things and really ensure that only the people that should be applying for these permits are. And just here, we just have the active and inactive, and then any terms and conditions that you might want to add in. So we've spoken about the sort of tariff configuration and just very briefly gone over the advanced business rules, but I want to sort of go into that a little bit more detail and sort of show you how customizable these are. So for example, if we come into our one per household business rule here, we can see that the type is obviously set for visibility. We can also set things for discount. So for example, offering disabled drivers a discount, or maybe some other sort of discount rules for that site or road or area. The visibility rules can be set up and created out to be really, really specific. So for example, this one here is that if the household has an active permit and the account type is equal to a resident, obviously we only want residents to be able to purchase resident permits, then they won't be able to see it, obviously, if it's a business account or if they don't have an active resident permit. What we can also do is add in extra conditions to say, well, actually, now we want to say that the postcode has to be in a certain area. And again, we can type these in, or we can integrate with LLPG and pull across any existing locations or areas that have specific tariffs or permits in those. Perfect. Then we come over to our emission-based charging here. And again, I just sort of want to give you an overview, and I'm aware I'm talking very quickly and going through a lot of things. Again, if you want a sort of a deep dive into any of this stuff, please get in contact with myself or Alex, and we can sort of go into this in more detail. But again, here we can see that the bands can be set up customizably. And again, we can set the durations for different bandings and different costs. And here we can obviously set the emission ranges for your resident accounts, but also for any business accounts and any business emission-based charging that you might want to do around sort of offices and those sorts of areas. I'm aware of time and I sort of don't want to talk too much more about it. But again, I'll just sort of reiterate, if you guys want to or have a look through the system or ask any sort of more in-depth questions, please get in touch with myself or Alex, and we can arrange to go through the system with you in more detail and answer any questions or queries you might have. I think that's all my time, so I'm going to pass back over to Alex.
Great, thanks. Just Jack, while you've got that on screen, we've got a question from someone about can you change the emissions settings? Clearly, you've just shown that we can. As a user, it's very easy. You just literally click in and choose it. How do we get our information on emissions? Quite simply, we're integrated with the DVLA, so we can get access to that data really simply. But I think hopefully that's answered the question, and it shows you how easy it is to literally set emissions banding and pricing and how to do things. I think it would be great. So we talked to you a little bit about the system. We showed you some stuff around the system. It'd be good to hear now from Josh and how it's actually working in a local authority. So Josh, do you want to talk to us? Do you want to talk to us a little bit about how you found the Zatpermit in Cornwall?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, so we great demo. Thanks, Jack. I think we use over in Cornwall probably about 90% of what you've shown. I think the only things we don't do is emissions-based charging and dispensations. Everything else we're using quite a lot at the moment. So a contract was awarded in December 2019, but by the time we turned around to migrating, obviously the pandemic hit, which weren't great omens to start off a new partnership. So we didn't actually implement until December 2020. So there's quite a delay in that, but meant that we could get things right first time. We originally moved over about 30 permit types with lots of hand-on support from the team at Unity, which carried on. It wasn't just then that support's carried all the way through, but during that migration, there was lots of hands-on support for 2 or 3 days whilst we moved everything over, just to make sure if anything came up, then it was resolved quite quickly. We quickly realised that actually the system worked very well for us, and we began moving a lot of our paper-based permits, not just the 30, but moving to all of our other types of permits. Began moving those over to Zat as well. And began to make our permits digital permits, where we follow the train that Jack has just shown us there. I think the only permits now that we have which aren't digital and the customer can apply for themselves are VRM, non-VRM specific permits. So if it's, for example, our reserve permits, you can pay a premium, and then you can have an unlimited registration permit. So there's no way to really manage that digitally. So that's really our only paper-based permits. I think we've got 5 of those, 5 permit types across all of our offerings, and I think we've got about 1,000 different tariff structures now, all digital. Not permits. We haven't got 1,000 permits. We haven't got that many. We haven't got a lot. We haven't got 1,000, but we've got 1,000 different tariff pricing structures. And I think for us, where we've realised the biggest gain is on our resident on-street permits. So at the moment we have 1,600 on-street permits. Previously, before our partnership with Unity 5, that would have been a manual process with either an email or a paper application form coming in. That would have taken anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks from the customer sending it in. By the time it reached us, by the time we got through our backlog, dealt with it, the to and fro, the payment, the permit arriving at their door was probably about 6 weeks really, from the time they requested it to the time they could actually part. Which isn't really acceptable. It's a really poor timeline for customers and it isn't a great service. Now using it digitally, I think from the initial application to the time they can park is a week, but that is with a 3-day offset that Cornwall Council put in there, just to include any weekends and things like that. So I think within a day you could have a resident permit, we could approve it on the same day, and the customer could park if we remove that 3-day offset. So now we've got that, and that's a fully digital process. We've actually got no backlog at all. So if a customer comes into us now with a query, it's usually answered on the same day, no matter what it's about, which is much better customer service. And we can only put that down to our partnership and using the Zatpermit back office, because that's how we get through so many permits now. Because it just wouldn't have happened before when using a paper-based system and emails and sending things out in the post. It's just not as efficient. I'm just trying to, I suppose I really want to use this time to show off how we've used the Zatpermit system the most, and that's using bespoke offerings. I think before we were quite rigid in what we offered, and if we didn't offer it, that was it. However, we've had quite a few queries over the last 12, 18 months where customers or businesses have come to us with suggestions or queries or concerns, and we thought, actually, yeah, we can do that. We can fix that. So recently, in April, we brought in our resident season ticket, which is a 50% discount offered to Cornish residents. So following the process that Jack showed us there initially, by attaching usually a council tax, prefer council tax statement, the customer actually gets 50% discount. That's a manual process and that we review it. Click the approve once we can see that. It's quite a quick process because it's either a yes or a no. And we're able to offer that 50% discount for prepaid parking on our 6 and 12-month tickets now. So the people that are using car parks regularly are actually receiving a benefit from the local authority, which has really helped strengthen our relationship with the community. Motorists realise that we're trying to provide offerings to support them as local parkers, but also it's something that we couldn't have provided without the Zatpermit back office system. And I think that has allowed us to really change the way we're working. We've become more adaptive, we're dynamic, and there's very few problems now that can't be solved. I suppose I'll pass over to Alex, but the only takeaway for me on this is that the ZAT system allows you to really answer the concerns of your residents.
Oh, great, thanks for that, Josh. It's really great to hear a live example of someone using the system. So obviously we mentioned there's the bulk communication functionality within the system, and I know that you've used that to conduct surveys.
Yeah.
What was the feedback directly from your residents then on the system?
Well, we used it for a consultation most recently in March to put up the price of our resident permits. So I won't tell you what their feedback was because it wasn't great. But the feedback on actually the delivery of it is that there wasn't any, because they didn't know the difference, because the way it comes through to customers, they think it's just a normal standard email that we've sent out and we've prepared, whereas actually we select all on 1,700 permits, and we send one bulk email out to everybody within sort of 2 or 3 minutes. Whereas before, obtaining 1,700 email addresses, trying to send that out through Outlook would have taken an age, and probably crashed my computer twice doing that. So I suppose for us, to take away from that is actually using the migration allowed us to send that out quickly, and it flags up if a customer hasn't got an email address, because we do, whilst we've moved our permits, 95% of our resident permit holders are digital, we still got probably around 5% who just can't manage it. So we're trying to be as accessible as possible. We still accept paper applications, which means that sometimes people don't have email addresses, so it will flag up the accounts which don't have an email address, so they won't receive that bulk action. So then we can take them to the side and send off a manual letter, so they still get the same communication as everybody else.
Oh, great. So would you say residents have found the transition from physical permits to digital relatively simple?
Yeah, I would say so. So we made that change 2 years ago, maybe now. We received very little kickback. We did a lot of consultation work. We had Jimmy and Ollie come down from UT5 to really test out the system. I think we did 4 full days of testing just to make sure that nothing would go wrong, because the worst thing we could do is roll out this really tech savvy solution, and a lot of technophobe people come back and say, oh, it doesn't work. And that's not the kickback we wanted. We received very, very little, to be honest. And we've got some help guides which are on our website as well, which if anyone is struggling, we usually send that in the first instance, and 9 times out of 10 they solve it themselves. And if not, we're on hand, or the Unity 5 back office team are on hand to support any issues that people can't solve.
Oh, great. No, great. That's great to hear. There was a question in the chat around, we had a question in advance, and there was a question in the chat as well around how you could do ongoing payments. So what we'll do, Jack's going to quickly jump back on and show and literally answer that question and show you how you do it. But in essence, as I said earlier, the system is designed to allow you the functionality to do what you need to do. So if you want to check documentation every 12 months, you can do that. But if you wanted to have a subscription style pricing methodology, such as Netflix or Spotify or someone like that, that's really simple to do as well. And Jack, can you just sort of show people how they would do that?
Absolutely, yeah. So just coming down here to the renewal section here. So here, once we've enabled our renewals here and set up how renewable they are and how often they can be, we can also set down here the max number of those renewals. So that's the bit where we can look at things like how often you want to recheck documents. So for the example I used earlier, let's say every 4 years, if this was a renewal permit, I want to check things. If I put 3 in there, that means that they can renew it 3 times, and then once that renewal is done, they would then have to reapply it and pull through those new documents there. Alex, was it around the sort of subscription base and those sort of like monthly charges? The
Yes.
question, sorry, I can't see the question.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So the question was, how will payments be attained for auto renewals? And also it was, can residents pay for their parking on a monthly basis with automatic renewals on expiry?
So first question is, it will pull through, obviously, that it will save the payment method from however they previously applied. And what it'll do is it will try and take that payment if for whatever reason they've changed cards, or the card is no longer valid, or whatever payment method they've chosen is no longer valid, then unfortunately it won't be able to auto renew. But as long as the payment card doesn't change, it will just automatically pull that payment. Very similar, like Alex said, to how a direct debit would be paid for something like Netflix or Spotify, for example.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, if you wanted to, you said about how often you review the documents, and of course you could just set that if you wanted to 100 years for someone had to do something, whatever your business rule is. So literally it would be in the system and just continually on a recurring mid payment, take the payment every month. Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. And I think the second question was more around about what happens with someone wants to make their life as easy as possible with their residents. They want to know about the automatic renewal. So when a payment gets taken, is a resident informed of that?
Absolutely, yeah. So what they'll do is there's a second part here where they can customize the emails that are sent out at different stages of the applicant process. So, for example, Alex, if you were to apply for a permit, you'd get an email, a customizable email that, again, I could change any time from the system to say, thank you very much for applying for the permit. We'll be in touch in X amount of days. And then once that payment's obviously once the permit's been approved and that payment's been taken, we would then send out automatically a follow-up email just to say that good news, your permit's been approved and the payment has been successfully taken.
Yeah, no, great. We've had a question as well around could the permit system be used for green waste permits? What was your view on that, Jack?
So we already do some non-vehicle based permitting. One example I know of is that we do bike lockers at train stations. So again, sort of depending on the sort of needs for those sort of custom permit types, absolutely. And again, it's something that we're more than happy to look at. Whoever raised that question might be worth maybe getting in contact with myself and Alex, and maybe we can sort of look through that and see how that will work with the system.
Great, yeah. And we've got a question from John, which was, can the system be used dynamically, for example, to reserve a curb space for a service visit?
So I assume that would be very similar to how the dispensations works.
Yeah.
So for example, if I come back to our applicant portal here and just come back to our dispensation here, this is completely customizable. So I can put in any postcode I want. And that will take me directly to, and as you can see, it takes us right into the exact point. So again, if they were looking to reserve maybe a street outside of a house, for example, absolutely that can be done with the system. And obviously once they select that pin, they can select obviously the number of bays that they wanted to suspend or to block out, as it were.
Yeah, and I know that we're working on digital TROs and with third-party integrations into their mapping systems as well. And we have within the business, we have a dedicated partnerships manager who literally is we've already got over 60 different partners that we're integrated with, and we're always looking for new partners. Just to show them who've got technology we can use. So we are in discussion. I won't name the partners, but we are in discussion with most of the major players in this market. Just on integrations, Jack, did you just want to quickly show how integrations work and how easy that is?
Unfortunately, I can't log into the integrations page in the back office. So I'd love to be able to show you all of our integrations and how they work. But essentially, like Alex said, we have an integration sort of specialist. And if there's someone that you want to integrate with that we currently don't, he's more than happy to get in touch with them and work through that sort of setting up that integration. And then once it's been set up, it's as simple as going into the system, switching a button on, and then adding in the relevant details, whether that's a username or password or whether it's an API key that can be added straight from the system. So it's really, really simple for you guys to set up, and for us, we're really happy to add in any extra integrations that anyone might need.
Yeah, no, great. I just wanted to sort of speaking to everyone on this webinar. Did anybody got any questions for Josh specifically on how it's actually used by an end user or a local authority? If you do, I'm sure he maybe throwing him under a bus here, but I'm sure Josh would be happy to answer them.
No, absolutely. Happy to answer any questions. If not, feel free to pop an email and I'm happy to answer any queries you might have.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Well, literally, everyone, thank you very much for listening to what we say. I mean, I think that the key things we wanted to show today is that the system is designed with customers in mind. You've got things like single sign-on, you've got account sharing, you've got the ability to do recurring monthly payments and subscription pricing. We've got major integrations with things like LLPG and looking towards digital TROs. And I think really the thing I would say as well is that what you will find is that if you have a situation, you need something to happen, that you can always just approach us and ask us, can we assist on something? We're happy to do it. Sorry, Josh, we have had a question come in. How have your staff found utilising the system?
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, our team really enjoy using it. It's very intuitive, and we can solve a lot of the problems without having to contact Unity 5. So if we've got problems, so if we've got, for example, we want to reduce the amount of visitor session books that a customer can have, we can do that ourselves. If we want to delay the amount of time until the permit becomes live, we can do that ourselves. If we want to adjust a price, we don't have to unless we have to do like 700 at one time. If we have to make small changes like that, we can do everything ourselves. Obviously, Unity 5 are there for support, and we've just recently had to do a bulk change where we've had to change 1,000 prices, which is much quicker for you guys to do than us. But the team really enjoy getting stuck involved, and trying to make as many changes as they can themselves. So it gives a little bit of ownership, I think, is that we feel in control of our own products. And the team are really passionate about making sure what they're selling is of good quality and the service we're giving is good quality, and we can take a little bit more control of that ourselves now.
No, great stuff. And obviously, I mentioned about our help desk. Have you or the team, do you find them they're good at resolving problems for you and available?
Yeah, absolutely. I said a lot of problems we can solve ourselves. And I suppose we can step that up, that there's the knowledge base before that. So we don't actually have to contact you directly, is that you've got a knowledge base, which 9 times out of 10 will show you absolutely everything you need to know. But if it isn't on there, you pop a ticket on the same day, you'll get your query responded, or at least logged, and you know that if it's a slightly bigger problem, sometimes if we can't solve it, usually it's a chunkier problem, to be honest. And the team are on it, and we always get a solution in really good amount of time.
Great to hear. Great to hear. We've got a question from Philip. We'll be running webinars on other products. Yes, we will be running more webinars, but my suggestion would be to anyone, if you wanted to know more about what we're doing, how we're doing things, this is just a quick overview of parts of the permit system. But please do, if you wanted to see the system in a lot more detail, how it works, how you can use it, just contact us, and me or one of my team happy to either come to your offices or do an online demonstration to you and show you really clearly how it works. Another question is, does the system allow for feedback from residents about the parking permit system for future improvements? Yes, we have the ability to, I think we mentioned the bulk communication, and it's a two-way process. So people can understand what's going to happen, what's intended to happen. Where it's really has been quite useful for some of our clients is where you have pop-up events or temporary events, such as things happening like a Christmas fair or a farmer's market, something like that. You can select via users, via roads, via resident zones, and you can send the pertinent information out to those people. And the system has a two-way feedback communication within it, and everything is logged on both sides, so you can see what someone else has answered in the system. So it's very, very user friendly and designed to be. We're designing it that people don't feel the need to get on the phone call or write an email. They can just utilize the permit system to get what they need. Can we give further details about the support that's available for people unfamiliar with digital platforms? I think when we set up any permit system, what we're going to do is we'll work with the local authority. We generally utilize that local authority's business rules. So although everybody is on our software, there's still elements of bespoke nature to it about how you need it to work. In essence, we've got the account sharing. we've got to sort of deal with the digitally excluded. We've also got we can put help articles or user guides embedded into the system so that people can understand it. They can watch how things happen. We kind of have them internally and externally, so we'll utilize that as well for local authority staff. So when we make a change, we have a role that's dedicated to working with our clients so that they can understand what the changes are, they can see the benefits, how to do things, step-by-step guides, that type of thing. It's really difficult to kind of fully, for us as a software company, to fully engage with the end user, but we certainly make sure that our clients and the local authorities and private parking companies, we give them all the support and all the technology available to allow them to do it. And because it's because of the self-service functionality, the savings that within the system, that frees up so much efficiency and time for people, that actually allows the users of the system in the local authority, they're able to actually spend more time with those residents that do have enhanced needs, and that time saving is significant. As Josh said, you know, they've gone from 6 weeks to a week, but it could go lower. So it's, and Josh, actually, I mentioned him, he's just raised his hand. So
thanks, Alex. Yeah, I was just going to back that point up, that we have so much more free time now, just because we can answer queries directly. That backlog is gone now. That there is no backlog, and we can answer queries almost instantly. Like we say about that, there's not too much we can do, or I suppose, on the application portal. If the guides don't help, that's why we link at the bottom. We've got our email address, our telephone number, and our postal address. So if none of those methods work, we ask for the customer just to contact us directly. And then, because we've got so much more free time now to handle these queries and give that slightly more bespoke and one-to-one support for residents, we can coach them through the steps, or sort it out for them and send them confirmation in the post, and then the digital permit will be set up.
No, great. So really, I suppose it's if there's anyone else has got any questions on the system or anything else they'd like us to show you. If not, we will end it there. But I would say to everyone that, you know, thank you for coming to listen to us today. But we've only shown you probably a small amount of the system. We've talked through some points. Really, we're happy, as I said before, we're happy to come and show you the system in a lot more depth and detail. And if you think there's something that you think is very bespoke and no one else does, please come and talk to us, because essentially we are a software company, so we can, with our own developers in house that can write code quite quickly and simply. I say that as someone who doesn't write code, you know, but it's available. We're available to our customers and to listen. And a lot of what we do and how our products evolve is based on customer feedback. And, you know, if you've got a great idea, we're happy to listen and kind of incorporate it into our system. So with that, thank you very, very much for listening to us for the last sort of 50 minutes. We've really enjoyed it, and please do get in contact. My contact details are there. You can obviously come via Landor as well. We'll be able to share our contact details. But please, if you want to know more about our system, do get in contact. So thank you very much.